A big question that comes up a lot is about what is it like to be a woman in, a predominantly male industry. Well, fashion is not a predominantly male industry. It's a lot of women, which is great. However, I've really been building a career in 3D printing, which is a male-dominated industry. So my sort of first real taste of the gender issue was when I went to China, still at Coach. I went to China now as a full-time 3D modeler running a team of one, that's part of a team of two working in 3D printing. So we basically, when I was made a full-time 3D person, part of what I felt strongly about was we need to have a global 3D workflow. It's all fine if we're creating technical models and printing prototypes and then sending those prints to factories, but isn't there a better way to do this? Shouldn't we just be sending digital files, getting on board with the same softwares, going back and forth, and having factories communicate back and forth digitally? So to do that, we really had to go to Asia and speak with the factories, speak with our partners at Coach, and get their partnership, get them to understand why we're moving in this direction. So my first trip there, my male boss and I, this was the mentor that I had, we sat down with one of the head managers of the sampling facility in Dongguan in China. And he was an Australian guy who had been working at this factory or running the sampling facility for like 15 years. It was a while. And I was the one who was really functionally a developer and had the know-how and was sort of selling this idea that we had to find a sort of way to work together globally, digitally. And my boss was there sort of, he was more experienced in Rhino and 3D printing, but he wasn't really a product development guy. He was really a designer. And so we sat down at the table, the three of us, and this guy, the manager, sat and faced my mentor the entire time. And I was running this meeting, I had the information, I was asking the questions, and he did not turn and look at me once. He would answer my questions facing him. And I kept it together, and I was like, what do I gotta do to get seen, literally seen? So I talked to my mentor that night and I said, hey, look, and he noticed it, he knew what was going on, he was frustrated as well. And so we kind of devised a little plan because we had to go back the next week to talk to him. Oh, so this is the stance that, so he's the manager of the factory sat at the end of the table and we were on either side of the table. And he sat, sorry, I'm not really dressed appropriately for this, he sat like slumped down in his chair, widespread legs, like facing my mentor, and then, not looking at me. So the next week we got back, and I had met with all these factories. They were wonderful, got a lot of buy-in. They were very respectful, all men in the room, very respectful. We got back, and I'm like, oh no, this guy is not doing this to me again. So I sat down first at the head of the table, and the guy sat down next, kind of crowding me at the head of the table, and then my mentor sat next to him, so he's now sort of side by side, so he can't face him and talk to him. And I sat down, faced him, and he was like a trained puppy for the rest of the meeting. He sat upright, he talked to me, answered my questions, and I led the meeting, and it was fine. But it was just like, it was so obvious what I was doing, and it was ridiculous, but it worked.